Edge of Eternity is a JRPG by independent developer Midgar Games. A team of 9 people have spent the past several years putting together an ambitious project. But is it any good? Watch the entire video to find out. Hello everyone, this is Steel from Studio Blue, and today we're going to analyze, review, and ultimately answer the question, is Edge of Eternity worth your money? To answer that question, we take a look at the good, the bad, and the potential, point out things the developers need to address, and then rank the game according to a 5-point system. Finally, we either recommend or do not recommend the game. A quick note before we get started. This game has undergone several updates, and some of the problems that I talked about, such as the camera, have been addressed. This by no means influences the bottom line of this review, just some of the details. Also, if you enjoy our content, please press that like button, and if you want to see more, please click on the subscribe button and the notification bell. Also, your comments are super helpful, both for the algorithm and feedback for us. The Studio Blue slime will show up to remind you throughout the video as well. Finally, this game is in early access, and we don't usually review games that aren't complete because they can objectively change. See comment about the camera above. If the game does change enough after this video is released, we may amend our recommendation. Let's get started with looking at the developer. Midgar Studios is a small French company located in Nimes? Is that how I pronounce it? It's in southern France. Its CEO is Jeremy Zeller-Moret, and I'm probably mispronouncing that, and a team of 7 or so others. Its website is, well, it's pretty bare bones, with most of it being focused on Edge of Eternity and their other game, Hover. To be honest, I'd rather see video of their development process than this funky graph right here, or the obvious 3 steps of concept art to finish model. Oh look, they're currently accepting internships. Anyway, Jeremy has blogged on Gamasutra, and the company's Twitter feed is pretty active, mostly with information about Edge of Eternity's development, and, well, they have a good sense of humor about themselves. That's positive. But the fact of the matter is that Edge of Eternity is their bread and butter, and it's exceedingly obvious that the success or failure of the studio will be determined by the success or failure of this very ambitious game. It is because of all this, and because my Discord viewers didn't want to see me play Horizon Zero Dawn, that I decided to do a series of 4 live streams critically playing Edge of Eternity. I wanted to see if the first 12 hours built a strong case for paying for this game, if it had the potential, or if it was just a waste of time. I know how it is when you put your heart and soul into an indie project, and I vowed to do right by the developer. So, Jeremy, if you and your team are watching, this is for you. I'm going to be kind when you do it right, harsh when you do it wrong, and by the time this video is over, I hope to give you advice that will help Midgar Studios make this game the very best it can be. The links to my 4 live streams are in the description below. Okay, so what is Edge of Eternity about? On a very broad scale, it's the story of 2 siblings stopping alien invaders from destroying their world by way of a magical decay called the corrosion. Along the way, they clash with the established religious political order that commands control over their world. The brother, Darian, is an ex-soldier, the sister Celine is a priestess, and their mother is infected with the corrosion. So out of the starting gate, the stakes are pretty high. They have to find Celine's master, figure out a way to stop the corrosion so that mother doesn't die, and then defeat the aliens that threaten their world. The setup isn't any more or less unique than any other fantasy-based game, but it's a solid start. I like the corrosion. It's like a more aggressive and painful version of the corruption from Dragon Age's Darkspawn. Once you get it, you're going to die a slow, painful death. However, there's a new version of the corrosion that kills you quickly, driving you mad in the process. That's interesting. I want to learn more about that. Then we get to the meat of the game, which is essentially a hero's quest. The entire 12 hours that I streamed this game was chasing lead after lead to find Celine's master, who supposedly knows something about this corrosion and how to fix it. And that's when you actually get into the game itself, that things start to break down. Quick sidebar, this game originally started in a different place, but after a while the developers added a sort of prologue they call Chapter 0. I'm going to be including that too because first impressions are paramount to new players. Okay, let's start with the positives. The graphics are gorgeous, the soundtrack is mesmerizing, and the battle system is at its core one of the most unique things I have ever seen. No amount of screenshots can do it justice. You have to watch it and play. The developers took the concept of the ATB, that's the active time battle, and married it quite perfectly to a strategic hexagonal-based battle engine. HP and MP recover completely after battle, and your equipped items restock automatically from your inventory. This means that you can focus more on your energy management for that particular fight instead of worrying about 5, 3, or even the next battle on down the line. That little change is unbelievable. The fights are easily the best thing about this game. Let's talk more about the environments. For the most part, they are gorgeous. The world of Haran, am I saying that right? Is beautiful from top to bottom, and the landscapes are just breathtaking. When the weather is clear, seeing things like distant cities or the spaceships belonging to the Archelites, those are the aliens, is just incredible. I want to see some of the environments made as home spaces for my Vive headset, so that I can chill with these god tier views. There are a few places where it looks like they slapped down placeholder graphics like purple trees that looked completely out of place from a flora or color theory perspective, but overall the game looks its best when out in the wilderness. I want to shake the hand of whoever did those landscapes. They are simply wonderful. Back to the music. My God, my great God. The music is so unbelievably god tier amazing. I found myself sucked into the soundtrack almost every time. There are a few places where the music needs to change to affect the mood, but there's nothing wrong with the music itself, and those mistakes are forgivable for an early access game. Overall, the music is better than some AAA games that I've played. Funny note, I had the main battle theme stuck in my head for over a week after I stopped playing, so that's a good thing for the game. Not for me, but great for the game. The city designs are okay. They aren't as good as the landscapes, and I want to go in some of those buildings. Like having none of the doors open and being unable to go into anything makes the towns feel lifeless and flat. Some in my chat were like, "Steel, it's hard to make them interiors." To which I said, no joke, I know that, you still need them. Point is this, even having a tavern or two, or a trading post, or an inn with a balcony, heck, have the faith that Selene serves, have a cathedral in the main city. Something, please, something! The urban areas feel so lifeless, and it's a shame because I wanted to enjoy them more. But that's the only sin of the environment. Add some interactivity to your maps and I'll give them the same love as your wilderness. Guaranteed. Okay, now we get to the critical points, and boy are they big. Let's start with the camera. My God, is it terrible. Please fix the camera outside of battle and give us a more JRPG character and action-focused camera in battle with the option to switch to the overhead view. Take a hint from JRPGs like Dragon Quest XI or Persona 5, just whatever this is. Stop doing that. Now for the models. What program did you use to make these characters? Was it Reallusion Character Creator 3? Was it Poser? Was it Daz 3D? Because there is no way in God's green earth anyone with any skill in character design would make this and turn it into this. I mean, what the heck? Please get someone to remake every character model in Blender. These models do you a complete disservice. Then there is the animations. Some of them are okay, but those idle animations during cinema come in two flavors, arms folded and head looking away. It's so distracting to see the characters of a game doing that. I'd almost rather see them not do anything rather than this weird, I don't even know what to call this other than it looks lazy. And I know you aren't all lazy because the battle animations are very well done. Give the cinematic movements twice the love you give the battle movements. The game may be resolved in battles, but it's the cinema that will pull in or lose your audience. That goes for lip syncing too. Make sure that when you create your model's facial bones, you take into account how the lip syncing application you're using works. Your characters' faces don't move how faces should move when they speak. And the eyes look lifeless too. More blinking, twitching, moving about in the eye sockets. I'm sure you'll fix this as the game's development goes on, but please make sure it gets as equal love as everything else. Those little facial tics make or break a character's projected realism. And believe me, you need as little broken as possible. Sidebar. During streams, I give you guys a lot of shit about the battle balancing. However, the majority of it was me not working with the crystals you created to my advantage. While I still feel that your balancing needs work to the final product, overall, the balancing works well enough. However, despite everything previously mentioned being forgivable, there are a few things that are anything but that. First, there is the utterly wasted space of the wilderness. Everything is far, far, far too spaced out. Even when the fast travel system works, which it always doesn't because sometimes the save points just don't function, you still have to walk pretty far to get anywhere that isn't the entrance to a town or a dungeon. Either shrink your wilderness in its entirety or add a ton of stuff into it to get rid of your empty space. But don't leave it alone. It's a gorgeous world that is way too big. Another thing that is utterly infuriating is the way that quests and quest markers are handled, and that includes the quests themselves. They're either given by random NPCs with way too much bad exposition, we'll get to the writing soon enough, don't worry, or received on a job board. There isn't really a way to gauge where you are or what to do in a quest, as the quest journal is pretty much useless. One of the quests to find Celine's teacher was, go find this rock, and the journal wasn't very explicit on what that meant. You, the player, had to remember the previous cinematic conversation. That is not good. The markers on the map and the compass do not help, and the mini-map is completely distracting. Please give me an option to turn HUD elements on or off. While some of the voice actors are really good, like Darian for instance, others are just plain awful. Celine's voice actress cannot emote to save her life, and it really shows in her speech to the townsfolk after the Anselm mines. It could have been a major moment, a moment in which the character development of Celine was amped to the next level, but it totally fell flat. Also, what's with the disparity between the vocal qualities? It's like you don't require a certain hardware configuration for your VAs before they record. It's very jarring, please fix that. Sidebar. Take a hint from games like Final Fantasy VII Remake and give the option to remove crystals in bulk from a weapon when equipping a new weapon. It was way too difficult to have to go into one weapon, unequip the crystals, then go into the other weapon and equip the crystals. One more thing. Never, never, never require someone to spend money to continue your main story. 4,000 gold to buy a Necro farm? I almost uninstalled your game right there.
No, you do not demand that a person have a set sum of money in order to continue the plot.
Now we come to the greatest sin of all, the writing. Guys, I'm going to be honest. The writing in this game is overall some of the worst that I have ever seen. It attempts to make fun of the JRPG genre, and it fails every single time. Two siblings bantering comes across as awkward and janky. Darian's girlfriend saying goodbye before dying comes across as dull and unrehearsed. Celine's priestly rival talking all that good trash to her comes across as a psychotic meltdown. There are so few instances of the game having good dialogue and good voice acting that it would take less time for me to cite those. Darian, the mother, the Sanctorium leader, and the goddamn New York cabbie magic flower are all A+ from start to finish. Everyone else needs to match their level of vocal talent and recording quality to those voice actors. Also, what is it with everyone in the world responding to everything so aggressively? Like, literally everything is about to cause a fight. Whether it be Celine and her rival having some sort of psychotic exchange, Darian freaking out every time someone mentions the army. I mean, I understand the stress that everyone is under with the Archelites trying to kill them, but jeezum, everything is literally a drama session. But the writing issues go deeper than the dialogue. The content itself is pretty atrocious. Oh, there are some moments where it feels like this game was written by a professional writer, by someone who can make the player feel something. But for the most part, the game continuously shoots itself in the foot. I'm going to cite 3 examples, but please understand that these are 3 pebbles in an entire quarry of issues. When you first enter the second town at the start of Chapter 2, I think, you meet a rival priest of Celine's. The entire exchange makes every character, including Celine and Darian, completely unlikable. It goes from 0 to psychopath in 5 seconds, and it establishes the rival priest as such an over-the-top and ridiculous bad guy that by the time he's done, you cannot even take the Sanctorium, that's the religious leaders of the world, seriously. But then, the townspeople just drop it. They aren't even playing it off like nothing ever happened for some political reason, they just plop the entire altercation. It never comes up again. The conversations following the event feel disjointed. And that issue happens with every bit of story exposition in the game. Everything feels like tiny chunks that have literally nothing to do with each other. It's unfun, it's jarring, it's poorly written, and I as a player am not enjoying it. Second example, Darian keeps referring to himself as a deserter, as does everyone else. What the hell? He's not a deserter. He's a survivor of a wiped battalion. There's literally nothing in the entire prologue that leads me to believe that he can't just waltz back into a camp or an HQ and report in for duty giving intel. I mean, yes, his hand is all corroded or something, plot reasons. He's obviously some kind of super weapon or something Archelitish or I don't know. But does the entire army know that? Does the Sanctorum know that? There is no way in heck I would believe that anyone other than the evil Sanctorium leader would have any idea what's going on. So Darian's main motivation is built on a shaky foundation. Either he gets totally and completely set up in the prologue to where the Sanctorum leader publicly denounces him as a traitor, like I see his face plastered everywhere. This guy works for the Archelites. Or find some other way to have the entirety of the army know that he survived the battle with the Archelites but has no intention of ever serving again. Calling him a deserter just because he's not fighting the Archelites actively in the army makes no sense to me. And lastly, the scene with that woman dying from the corrosion, the one that Darian Mercy kills, Zeron I think her name is. That scene was so disgracefully written that I almost ended the stream right there. Everything about that exchange, up to and including the joke and how Darian kills her, was sophomoric and insulting. I can't even vocalize how the developers thought it was a good idea to take a person dying, begging for release, and turn it into a terrible joke moment. And then, right after that quest, which was essentially a Nekaru sonar quest, Chocobo hot and cold moment, you have to do another Nekaru sonar quest. Nope, I was done. We watched Demon Souls remastered trailers the rest of the stream, and then I went and had dinner with Teal. Those are just 3 examples, but the game has these consistently. I recommend rewriting the entire script with dialogue and narrative from start to finish. Hire a professional writer, someone who will give these characters a consistent voice, someone who will create a connection between the players, the character, the stories, so that when the characters cry, the players cry, when the characters laugh, the players laugh. There is no relatable connection. Get someone, anyone who will do this and make the game present the feeling you want. Please, think of the Nekarus. Think of the Nekarus! Okay, so now my 5 points. Story. The overall story is fine. It's basically a hero's journey in a doomed world. I want to know more about the Archelites, why they are there, and what can be done about them. I want to know if the Sanctorum was always bad, or if the invasion made them go bad. And I want to know what happened with Darian in the prologue, why his girlfriend recognized the Archelite before dying, and what Celine's suspected cure for the corrosion is. I'm not that interested in the gods of this world, as the world lore itself is pretty poorly handled, but I am curious about the world itself. The writing, though, brings it down, so I give this story 3 out of 5 slimes. Characters. For the most part, they're boring, flat, and overly aggressive for no reasons. The relationship between the siblings is its weakest point, and the relationship between the siblings and their mother is the strongest. I would recommend that once we meet Alfarius, that's Celine's mentor by the way, that his relationship with Celine will be a good one too. Flavio, the talking flower, is the greatest character in video game history, and I will fight a fool over that. But overall, the characters are weak and get 2 out of 5 slimes. Presentation. This is where the game shines. The graphics and the music is god tier, and while the music needs work, it's still pretty good. The only reason that I cannot give this a perfect score is because of the dynamic weather system. It ruins cinematic moments all the time. There was a point when we were approaching Heriasor, the main town, during a thunderstorm, and what would have been an amazing cinematic was ruined by rain. Have a switch to turn your dynamic weather off and default to pretty and clear whenever you want to show off your world in some sort of cinema, and then turn it back on when you're done. Something, anything. Right now your presentation gets a 4 out of 5 slime. Playability. This one's simple. In battles, it's great. Out of battles, it's rough at best, infuriating at the most. Lots of bugs. Lots and lots of bugs. So many bugs. Look, I'm not a beta tester, so I'm not going to list them. I am going to say that the giant boar chase thing, that was poorly executed. Especially since after all that BS you couldn't kill it? Nope. You don't get to do that and call yourself professionals. Fix the game's janky parts, please. That gets 3 out of 5 slimes. Fun factor. Once more, if we're talking about the battle system, the game is great. Tons of fun. Heck, I'd play the hell out of a boss rush version of this game, and I hate boss rushes. But the game itself, the bad writing and tedious nature of the game's exploration sap that right out of you. 2 out of 5 slimes at best. That gives Edge of Eternity a total score of 2.8 out of 5 slimes. Since this is an early access game, I'll round that up, so 3 out of 5 slimes. So, would Studio Blue recommend Edge of Eternity? In its current state, no, not at all. It does too many things wrong on a fundamental level. That's the key word, fundamental. While the concept is good, the foundation on which the game is built is too shoddy at its very best. Unless those fundamental issues are fixed, no amount of patching will work, and the game will ultimately never be the best it can be. My advice to Midgar Studio, stop releasing new content for the game. You are releasing an early alpha and it shows from start to finish. Here's the problem. While you have a loyal core fan base, the vast majority of players are only going to give Edge of Eternity one chance. That's all you get, one shot. And if this game isn't the absolute best it can be, that one shot will be wasted and you will only have your loyal core fan base. Are you making this game for them, or are you making this game for the world? Do you want people to see the game for its flaws? Or do you want people to see that a small team of less than 10 people can create a game to rival Final Fantasy? You need to answer that question internally, and you need to do it soon. If you want the game just for a small core group, keep doing what you're doing. I'm sure that your loyal fan base will love the game for years to come. If you want to go all the way though, don't release anything new. Fix your problems with what you have, and make every playable moment the unequivocal best possible. Bring it through every ounce of development and testing. Make it something that you yourself would be comfortable playing for. Then, and only then, release new content. Making sure that you go through the exact same quality assurance as everything else. Because if you don't do this, this game isn't going to be worth the memes it will generate, and that would be a crying shame. At the end of the day, Edge of Eternity is a bold undertaking that needs to be applauded. However, it doesn't need to be let off the hook. It needs to be held to the same standard as the games it's trying to shine alongside, and the team, although small and dedicated, need to be held to the same standard as a 1,000-person AAA team. If the team of Edge of Eternity can rise to the occasion, history will remember this game as a moment in which the independent developer community looked at the AAA industry and said, "Anything you can do, we can do better." If you enjoyed this content, please give it a like and a subscribe. Let us know in the comments what you think. Each time my wife Teal and I finish a critical play of a game on livestream, we'll put out a dissection video like this, so that other developers can learn from the mistakes of the professionals. On our Twitch channel, the link is below, we stream a classroom on game development and writing every Monday, and stream our critical play series every Wednesday and Thursday. Friday night is when we stream a 2 to 3 hour Ask Us Anything where we chat with our friends and fans about literally everything under the sun. Everything starts at 6 p.m. Central Time, 7 p.m. Eastern, and 4 p.m. Pacific. We hope you'll join us. If you like what you saw, lay the smack down that like button below, subscribe to our channel, consider supporting us on Patreon, connect with us over Facebook, Twitter, Discord, and I'll see you in the next video.